Have you ever stopped to think about what connects the DNA in your very own body to a 300 million-year-old rock buried deep beneath the Earth's surface? Well, the answer is carbon. It is the ultimate currency of life and really the foundational element of our planet's entire history. Every single living thing is built on it, and the Earth has been trading it back and forth for billions of years in this massive, incredibly elegant system.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to play the role of planetary accountants, uncovering the vast systems that keep our world running. We're diving into how the Earth breathes, how it stores its most precious currency, and what exactly happens when that system experiences a sudden, unprecedented shift. Let's just jump right into it.
So what exactly is the carbon cycle? At its core, it is the absolutely critical sequence of events that recycles carbon and makes Earth capable of sustaining life. It's a biogeochemical cycle where carbon is constantly exchanged among the biosphere, the pedosphere, which is our soil, the geosphere, the hydrosphere, and of course, the atmosphere. Without this continuous planetary recycling program, life as we know it simply wouldn't exist.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with Earth's carbon currency, then look at the fast carbon cycle, followed by the slow carbon cycle. Next up is the ocean's crucial role, the human disruption. And finally, we'll wrap up with the future balance.
All right, Section 1, Earth's carbon currency, where we'll map out the planetary carbon pools.
It helps to think of the Earth as a giant global economy, where carbon is the money, and that money gets stored in different banks, or pools. Now, we often think of the atmosphere right away when we talk about carbon, but it actually holds a relatively small 720 gigatons. The terrestrial biosphere holds around 2,000, and fossil fuels hold a pretty hefty 4,130. But the ocean? The ocean is the ultimate vault, holding a staggering 38,400 gigatons.
But get this, there are more than 60 million gigatons of carbon locked inertly in the Earth's lithosphere. We're talking about sedimentary carbonates like limestone. Much of this was actually formed from the shells of ancient marine organisms over millions and millions of years. It is an almost incomprehensible amount of carbon, safely locked away in the deep rock of our planet.
Moving on to Section 2, the fast carbon cycle, or Earth's rapid biological breath.
While all that deep rock just sits there for literal eons, this fast cycle is operating on timescales of days, years, and decades. It's happening all around us right now. Plants, our autotrophs, pull carbon dioxide right out of the air to grow. Then heterotrophs, like you, me, and other animals, take in that carbon by eating them. We breathe it back out and eventually return it to the Earth through decomposition. It is a rapid, constant breathing by the entire biosphere.
To put the sheer volume of this natural breathing into perspective, consider this. In 2008 alone, the global total of CO2 released by soil respiration was roughly 98 billion tons. That is roughly 3 times more carbon than humans are currently putting into the atmosphere. But here's the absolutely crucial point. This massive natural release from the soil is part of a perfectly balanced budget. It's completely offset by the natural inputs of carbon going right back into the soil from dead plant matter and roots.
Okay, Section 3, the slow carbon cycle. Think of this as the ancient geological ledger.
Here we shift gears from the biological to the geological. The pace drops drastically from days to millions of years. We contrast that fast, active cycle moving through the biosphere with the slow cycle, which is driven by the Earth's tectonic movements through the crust, mantle, and deep ocean. Our planet really relies on the harmony of both of these rhythms to function.
So let's trace how this slow cycle actually works. First, carbon precipitates down to the ocean floor, eventually forming sedimentary rock. Over millions of years, the slow movement of tectonic plates actually subducts this rock deep down into the Earth's mantle. Down there, it heats up, melts, and ascends towards volcanic hotspots. Finally, it gets released back into the atmosphere as CO2 via volcanic eruptions. Through this absolutely fascinating process, volcanoes naturally outgas between 10 and 100 million tons of carbon a year.
Which brings us to Section 4, the ocean's crucial role, which is the largest pool of actively cycled carbon.
The deep layers of the ocean contain roughly 50 times more carbon than our entire atmosphere. So how does it get all the way down there? Well, it's through an incredible mechanism called the biological pump. Up at the surface, microscopic phytoplankton pull CO2 into their cells. As they die, they clump together, sinking rapidly into the abyss as what marine scientists call marine snow. Down in the deep, this carbon is dissolved into the water or buried in sediment. It's essentially a massive biological conveyor belt.
All right, Section 5, the human disruption. This is where the fast and slow rhythms collide.
For hundreds of thousands of years, these fast and slow rhythms just hummed along in perfect balance. But human activity has fundamentally altered this system. We're extracting fossil fuels, which, remember, is carbon securely locked away in the slow cycle for millions of years, and we're burning it. We're essentially digging up ancient printed money and injecting it straight into the fast-paced biological economy.
Because we're injecting all this ancient carbon into the modern atmosphere, carbon dioxide levels increased nearly 52% over pre-industrial levels by the year 2020. That is a staggering, massive shift in the atmospheric ledger in an incredibly short amount of time.
And Earth's natural sinks are really straining to absorb this extra currency. Right now, about 29% of human-emitted CO2 is absorbed by land sinks, and another 25% by the ocean. But that leaves roughly 46% accumulating directly in the atmosphere, driving the greenhouse effect.
And to complicate matters even further, we aren't just adding carbon to the system, we're actively modifying the land's ability to absorb it in the first place. Deforestation removes ancient forests that hold massive amounts of carbon. When those forests are replaced by agriculture or urban areas, our capacity for carbon storage plummets. This compounding issue decreases ecosystem resilience and releases even more terrestrial carbon straight back into the atmosphere, which directly damages the very biological sinks we need to absorb our emissions.
And finally, Section 6, the future balance, the ultimate fate of the carbon cycle.
Let's zoom way out for a second, to deep astronomical time. As the sun gradually ages and brightens, weathering rates on Earth will actually speed up, trapping atmospheric CO2 in the crust. In about 600 million years, CO2 levels will drop so low that C3 photosynthesis, the process used by most of Earth's plants, will simply end. In 1.1 billion years, oceans will evaporate, completely halting plate tectonics. And somewhere between 1 and 2 billion years from now, without volcanoes to pump CO2, the entire carbon cycle will end entirely.
But hey, before the machine grinds to a halt a billion years from now, we have to face the reality of today. As we rapidly inject millions of years of slow-cycle carbon directly into our delicate, fast cycle, how will the Earth's rhythms rebalance? Our planet has shown profound resilience over the eons, for sure, but the unprecedented scale of our current disruption leaves us with a critical question. What will our global economy look like when the carbon ledger finally settles? Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.